time to start the show. Hello. Thank you all for taking your time to stop, look, and listen in our divine appointment here today on another episode of Angels Talk. That's right here, right now. And I'm Sandra, and I'm so very excited because I have something so wonderful to share with everyone out there. The one, the only one, Francine Spacek.
Oh, thank you so much for such a lovely introduction, Sandra.
You're welcome. And thank you for allowing me to come here. I am so honored to be in your presence.
Thank you. I'm honored to be in your presence and to be able to explain our program to you.
Your program. Yes, that's right. That's why I'm here. Children. Tell everybody out there. Tell everybody.
All right, I'd be delighted to. Well, I am the Illinois director of an organization called Quilts for Kids. And it was founded approximately 4.5 years ago by an interior designer in Pennsylvania. And she had the brainstorm of creating this program. And what we do is we take discontinued designer fabrics and transform them into comfort quilts for children with life-threatening diseases.
Well, Francine, how did this happen for you? How did you get caught up in this?
Well, you probably wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Yes, I would. Tell me, how did this happen?
Well, I too am an interior designer. That is my profession. All righty. And so one day I went to attend a lecture on how to improve your business. And as I stepped off the elevator, there was a billboard. And the billboard said, Quilts for Kids, lecture or presentation rather, at 1 o'clock in such and such a showroom. And underneath in small print it said, refreshments will be served. So
Refreshments.
Refreshments.
Oh, I can see where you're
1
going
o'clock.
with this.
And I'm thinking, And my first thought was, quilts? Who quilts today? I mean, maybe people on farms or, maybe somewhere out in the country, but I myself am a city girl.
Yeah. Yes, I was just going to say city slicker.
Well, if you will put it that way. And truthfully, I'm not a quilty kind of gal. Until now. But in any event, the point being that, so I see this poster and I see, okay, fine, 1 o'clock, refreshments. All right, I'll go to the presentation, I'll get my free refreshments, and, I won't have to go buy lunch that day.
This is so funny. This is so funny that your next step in your life is evolving to be quilts,
It's
fabrics.
really funny. And probably anybody who knows me, they would say, Fran quilts. It just doesn't go together. But
Fab.
it really does.
This is fab. Fabulous. Fabric.
Fab and fabric. Mm-hmm. And it actually marries two of my favorite things in the world, which are children and fabric.
Oh, I have the heart touch here, Fran. I feel it. I feel it's all over you.
So what we do is we take and transform discontinued, beautiful designer fabrics and find people who will turn them into comfort quilts, as we like to refer to them. And they give the quilts back to me. No money exchanges hands. This is an entirely not-for-profit organization. And once I get them, then I transform them, or I shouldn't say transform them, I turn them over to and gift them to children with life-threatening illnesses.
Now, you do get them all back, don't you?
Well, yes, the majority of them, absolutely.
And tell me, Fran, or let me just tell you a little bit about me. I have a vision, and the vision is one world, one dream in the spirit of unity. Mm-hmm. And I see with your mission that you have going on, mm-hmm. that completes that vision. Would you share with everyone the mission?
Absolutely, I would be delighted to. And it's funny that you would say full circle, because we really consider ourselves a twofer organization, being as how we take fabric, which would very possibly have gotten thrown away and ended up in a landfill somewhere, and instead The fabrics are transformed into these beautiful, can I show you some?
Please.
Okay, great. First, let me show you, this would be a typical fabric sample that would be normally tossed in the Dipsy dumpster, okay, once it's discontinued by the manufacturer, because at that point it is no longer of value to them. So now we find people that I send these beautiful fabrics to, and they send me back something like this. Let me open this up.
Oh, my word, Fran. It is so wonderful.
Isn't this adorable?
Oh, my word.
It's amazing, isn't it? What
Yes, it is.
could have ended up in a landfill is now going to end up in the hands of a child that most of our recipients are children who have either cancer, AIDS, or are awaiting a transplant. And I might also add that we gift anywhere from infants all the way through to 22-year-olds, which is something that the hospitals and the hospices that work with us really appreciate, because a lot of people seem to give to infants or newborns and also to little children, but once they hit about, I don't know, 8, 10 years old, it seems like people forget.
There's so many here. I'd like to share all of them
Oh,
with
I'd love
everybody.
to show them to you.
And we can do as much as we can on this show, but I have a few more questions,
Sure.
Fran. I was thinking about this.
Mhm.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, actually, I've only been involved in the organization since last May, so not even a year.
And I understand that you set some goals for the organization as the newfound director of Illinois, correct?
Yes, my goal is to make our chapter here in Illinois the largest chapter in the United States.
I see your angel helper out there. I can't help but to call her out
Yes.
because she is so fun and so fantastic.
She's
as your
great.
assistant. Yes, and she is called LJ.
Yes, she is, and I couldn't have gotten this far without her.
Yes. So what? And I apologize. Continue. What were you saying?
I was saying that it is our goal, is my goal, to have our Illinois chapter become the largest chapter in the United States. And I see no reason why we can't do it, because we have such a large populace here in the Chicagoland area. And of course, it's not just Chicago, so I don't mean to mislead anybody. It's the entire state of Illinois and the surrounding vicinity.
Well, for me, being the first time here in Chicago and hosting a beautiful guest and an opportunity for volunteerism and for people to come forth and participate, it's just, it's so exciting that it overwhelms everyone.
Well, if you think that's overwhelming, you should see these quilts that come back.
Oh, tell me.
I
Tell us.
feel it's like Christmas. Every time I get a quilt back, and I get a box back, I should say, before I open it up, I feel like a child at Christmas or something.
You are.
Let me show you some of the others, because I just love to show off the
Okay.
work of my quilters.
Okay.
I call them my quilters, like they belong to me or something, but I'm so proud of them. Now, this is the back. We also supply enough fabric for the front as well as the back. And we also have, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we have custom-made Quilts for Kids labels that we ask each one of the creators of the quilt to sign and to date. Now, that's certainly not mandatory, but most people do, and the
Oh.
children really appreciate it when they say, "Oh, look, Julie
It's a-
made
it's
my
a
quilt."
personal hand touch.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And as I'm finding out, most quilters are more than happy to put their name and their date on their quilt.
So, Francine, how many quilts would you have? How many quilts would you say that you've sent out since you've taken this leap of faith?
Well, since I've taken on the directorship here, and we've never had a chapter in Illinois up until last May, I have received approximately 250 quilts, and I have gifted approximately 200.
Wow, that's exciting. Now I understand that you had a little help with that.
Absolutely.
What did you call this person?
I call him my corporate angel.
That's exciting.
And you know, he really is. His name is Joe Caminetti, and he is a wonderful corporate man who is kind enough to take care of all of the postage for all of the quilt kits that I send out to would-be quilters, or would-be, I like to call them would-be fabricators, actually. I don't like to turn anybody off to the word quilt, because when I first heard of the organization, as I was telling you earlier, I thought, quilt, it sounded a little daunting to me, and I didn't, it's not the kind of quilts, these are not the kinds of quilts that are assembled at like the quilting bees. That was the first thing that came into my mind, like the little Amish ladies or whatever sitting at a quilting circle or a quilting bee. And, you know, we only have 2 stipulations on our program.
And what are those two?
Those 2 are, all of the quilts must be made on a sewing machine, contrary to just hand knotted. And the second thing is that the fabrics have to be washable. And the reason for that being that the hospitals and hospices that work with our program, they're fabulous. And because most of the children either have cancer, AIDS, or some other very serious illness, there's a lot of accidents, be it medicine getting spilled, food getting spilled, whatnot. And when that happens, the hospitals, the hospices, they will take the quilt, they will put it in their washing machine and wash it for the child. But of course, their washing machines are industrial strength. They're institutional washing machines, not like the ones we have at home. And if the quilts are not made on a machine, they just don't make it through their heavy-duty washers.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it really does.
You started to show me a quilt earlier when you first came in. Would you mind sharing with our listening audience today that, I think it's right over there, it's a heart.
I'd be delighted. And I just wanted to show you the front of this quilt.
Oh, that's
'Cause
absolutely.
That was the back, what I
it's-
was showing you
Oh my
before.
goodness, this is fabulous. Oh my
And
goodness.
we definitely not just like, we send people enough fabric for both sides of a quilt because we want to make certain that if a little child or an older child is sitting in there for an hour in their chemo or whatnot, sometimes, you know, they might move and they have to lay relatively still. And if the quilt flips over, well, we want it to be colorful or interesting on both sides, if at all possible.
That's so thoughtful.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But let me show you some of the others. Okay? I'm so happy to show these off.
I can tell. I can tell. You're barely sitting in your seat.
I know. May I stand up
Wow.
to show this? Because it's a little larger. Or maybe here, maybe we can do it this way. Excuse me?
Oh my, to show everybody.
Oh, yeah. And also, here, shall we move? Don't mean to cover your beautiful face, but
Oh, it's okay,
we want
Francine.
everybody to be able to see the adorable quilt.
It's beautiful.
And then the reverse side of this one.
It's the flip side. Oh, look at all of the hearts.
Yeah. And
Truly.
well, that brings another point to mind. Obviously, we are not going to gift the same quilt to an 18-year-old boy as we would to a 4 or 5-year-old girl. So the way that the organization, at least the way that my chapter is working, is we find out whether we're gifting to a boy or a girl, how old they are, and indeed if they have a hobby or a special interest. And we don't make the quilts per se like custom, like if somebody says, well, I like SpongeBob SquarePants or something of that nature, but we at least try to do something like match their favorite color, or maybe if they're into sports or flowers or ballet or something more, a little bit more general. And we try to pick the quilt to match the child and have a little bit of a marriage there.
A little bit of a marriage. I saw a quilt earlier that had something very unique and special by one of the
Yes.
sewers.
I
Would
think
you mind sharing that?
I would love to show it to you. And let's see, where did we put that quilt? Oh, here it is. The other beautiful thing that I think about our organization is there's no restrictions on the pattern or how the fabrics are cut and sewn and placed back together. That is entirely up to the quilter slash sewer slash creator of the quilt. And many people will put little surprises on the back side. Like here we have a little square of fabric that's been utilized in the front so that it's not just all one fabric. And on this quilt in particular, which is obviously, or I should say obviously, but this is the front of this quilt, which is
Oh, it's fabulous.
Isn't this adorable?
Yes.
And so much for the children to look at, as well as the liaisons with the hospitals that work with us have told me. It's so comforting and therapeutic for the children when they're in their testing, their chemotherapy, whatever.
They're healing. They're
yes,
healing stages.
They'll talk about the quilts, and it'll distract them from whatever's happening.
Yes, I'm distracted. I have to see. I saw this earlier, and I
This
just
is
want to share this with everyone
A little
in here.
surprise that this quilter did on her quilt.
This that
you
I'm
be
about to
reading?
unfold is a personal message.
A personal message from the quilter of this particular quilt.
It says, "You're my hero."
Mhm.
It says more.
It says a lot more.
It says, oh my goodness. It says, the Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over you. Psalms 12.
So we have things of that nature that people will tuck little messages in. Sometimes they'll, if they have embroidery machines, they might embroider a message, a special inspirational message on the reverse side. Just kind of a little surprise, so to speak.
I'm
May
glad
I
I
have
saved
that
that
back?
surprise for last. Very touching, very thoughtful, and thank you for all of the special ideas that you brought to the table today that are so wonderful here in this project.
May I show you one more? Do we have time?
You know, I'm just open to everything around me. I think you can show us one more.
All right, great, because I love to do that. Okay, it's this quilt over here, okay, which has embroidered or appliqued medallions on it. And now this lady did a little surprise on the back in the form of a pocket and a little teddy bear inside. Some people put Beanie Babies in, some people put whatever, you know. It's just there's no right or wrong in that regard.
And that was just something extra special.
That was something extra special that she chose to add.
It's beautiful. It's so wonderful to have you here today.
But importantly, I think it's very important for me to let people know we have everybody quilting for us, from literally Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops, children who are 8, 9, 10 years old, all the way through to grandmothers who've been quilting 65 years and are master quilters. And this particular quilt is a great example, I think, of what somebody can do with merely squares of fabric. This quilt, which is beautiful, is comprised of nothing more than fabric cut into squares and sewn together. So if you can sew a straight line on a sewing machine, you can fabricate one of these.
You know, it's not only the fabric, but it's the pictures and the love that was put inside all of this work.
That is so true.
And really, it's not work to the people, all of the people who are involved in all of this.
And all I can tell you is that the love really shines through when these children get these quilts. They are so touched. And the one kind of common denominator that runs through their remarks is, why would somebody who doesn't even know me make me something so beautiful? And there's not another one like it in the world. So I always tell them, it's just like you.
Oh.
There's not another one like it in the world, and there never will be.
Whew. You know, we are all the same and different,
That's true.
and here to be our brother's keeper.
Very true.
That's all I know. And I'm just so peaceful and feeling loved here today with all of this Oh, how do we get involved? How does our viewers get involved?
Oh, that's the best part of all. We have a so wonderful opportunity for people to have
Free.
free
Free. We can say
designer
free on here.
fabric.
Uh-huh.
All they have to do is contact me via the email or my phone and leave me a message, and I will be more than delighted to send them out enough fabric to make a two-sided quilt, a custom label, wherever it went. Right here is our custom label on this quilt. They'll get a custom label. We only ask that they stitch it down on all four sides so no little fingers or toes or IVs get caught in there. And then I will also send them a set of directions and a return address label so they can send it right back to me. And that's all they have to do. We just ask that they supply the thread and one thin, thin, thin layer of batting. Other than that, they don't have any expense.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Within our wings, I just keep thinking within everyone's wing. And it takes everyone to make this happen.
It does. It does. And, you know, the one thing is that, unfortunately, there will always be children who will be in need of these quilts. And they really do appreciate them because the nurses, the doctors, they all say they'll take them and they'll, like, just hold them and take them to their tests or hug them when they're sleeping in their beds and whatnot. And so the children really appreciate them. They just get very attached to them.
Well, Francine, I am here to tell you how much not only I appreciate you, but everyone out there appreciates and honors you for being the angel and taking that step to go forth and clear the path so you can create it for so many other individuals of our future that are alive and well in what year are we? 2005?
Exactly.
Alive in 2005. Yes,
There you go.
and I will come back. I will come back and do another episode and do whatever I can here at Angels at God Central Station. To
I would be
assist you.
honored.
Well,
We can do an update.
yes, we can. Yes, we can. And
May I add one thing?
Yes, you may.
I wanted you to know that the one thing that really tipped the scale for me to get involved and become the director of an organization, this organization, is that over the last 4.5 years, several thank you notes and emails have been received by our organization. And the common thread that runs through those thank you notes is, thank you so much for gifting my son or my daughter a quilt. You have no idea how much comfort it brought them when they were so ill. And we chose to bury them in it because it was the last thing they were holding when they passed. So now I've got the waterworks going on. I'm like, oh my goodness. And the other thing that happens is the thank you notes will come back and say, thank you so much for gifting my child a quilt, et cetera, et cetera. And we chose to keep it because it was the last thing they were holding when they passed. And so even today, we'll take the quilt and wrap it around ourselves, and it makes us feel closer to our child. So that wiped me out.
Francine.
Sign me up.
With all of the thoughts, all of the words, and all of the actions that this so wonderful opportunity is doing here on the planet, I can see it ever growing and being passed on and on and on.
From your mouth to God's ears.
And it's so much fun.
It is.
And so
It really
be it.
is.
Well, now it's almost time to end the show.
All right.
And I always ask everyone to help me. It's really... Francine,
Yes.
you made the call. Answer it. Answer it. It's for you.
Hello? Oh my goodness. It's somebody who's already interested in joining and making a quilt. Can you hold on? I hate to ask them to hold. Please don't hang up. We'll take care of your call and get you all the necessary information as soon as the show is over. And thank you so much.
I have to shift. Thank you all for taking your time to stop, look, and listen in our divine appointment here today on another episode of Angels Talk. I'm Sandra in a Soul Relationships with Quilts for Kids.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
And guess what?
What?
I'm here to say divine love and holy kisses.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're an angel. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Oh my goodness.